Hey there, kiddos. In this video, we're going to go over Unit 7, Lesson 2, how to find the area of a parallelogram. And so when we take a look at this question, it says Lewis's teacher asked him to find the area of the parallelogram pictured below. He wasn't sure what the area formula was for parallelograms, so he cut a right triangle off of the left side of the parallelogram, as you can see here, and moved it to the other side of the parallelogram to form the rectangle. So he cut this piece off here, as you can see in the second picture, brought it here, which then creates this rectangle, which is 6 units by 4 units. Assuming that what Lewis did was okay, how would he then find the area of this parallelogram? Well, I'm hoping that when you look at this, you are seeing that, well, this parallelogram, according to what Lewis did, has now just created a rectangle. And what's the formula to find the area of a rectangle? Well, I'm hoping you're saying, well, this is length and this is width. And to find the area is we multiply length times width. And if we're multiplying length times width, in this case, we're multiplying 6 times 4, which would give us, in return to, if we're looking at units, this would give us 24 units squared. Whatever those units were or are, they would be squared because we're multiplying a unit times a unit. So if this was inches, it'd be inches squared. If they were feet, then it'd be feet squared. If it was miles or yards, it'd be yards squared or miles squared. And we know that we can either write this with the exponent 2, or we could say square inches or square feet for the example that we're looking here with Lewis. So the first thing that we want to remember, write this in your composition notebooks. If we're looking at a parallelogram where we have two sets of sides that are parallel to each other, so this side is parallel to this side, and then let's change the color, where we have this side is parallel to this side, well, then the length of those two sides, where if this is 6 units and this is 4 units, we can just multiply those two, similar to the area of a rectangle, and that will allow us to be able to determine the area of the parallelogram. So what we want to write in our notebook is that the area of a parallelogram, so our key point for today's lesson, this is a thing that you want to make sure that you have in your notebook, is the following, is that the area of a parallelogram is measured the same way as the area of a rectangle. Meaning, if we know the length and the width of that parallelogram, then we're multiplying the length times the width. Excellent. So let's take a look now at our key or our test of conjecture question number 1, which is asking the following, which is, what's the area of the following parallelogram? Well, as we just mentioned, to find the area, we're going to need to know what the length is and what the width is. So when we look at the following, what do we see here? We see that this is our length, and then this is our width. And this is our width. Now we know this is our width because when we're finding the area of a parallelogram or area of a rectangle, we know it's the base times the height. And when we're looking at the following, our height is always going to be at a right angle, and our base, the height and the base are going to form this right angle. And so those two measurements are the two that we're looking for. And in this case, it's the 7 centimeters and the 8 centimeters. And when we multiply those two, we get 56 centimeters. And because we're looking at area, centimeters squared. So it's going to be super important, kiddos, that you are not forgetting the units. If you simply write 56, that's going to be incorrect because that is not the area of the parallelogram. The area of the parallelogram isn't just 56 centimeters, it's 56 centimeters squared. So we want to make sure that we have the units for our area when we're writing that down. Let's take a look at test of conjecture number 2. It says that Tariq bought a rug in the shape of a parallelogram, which is shown below. How many square meters, so we're looking for the area, of space will this rug or will the rug take up on his floor? So we need to, once again, determine what is the length or the base of the parallelogram and what is the height of the parallelogram. Well, when we look at this rug, first off, this side is parallel to this side, and then we have this side is parallel to this side. And so area is equal to length times width, or the base times the height. And when we look at the following, we can see that, hey, our height is this measure right here, which is 3.5 meters. Or I could write this as just 3.5 meters. And then our base is this measure right here, which is 4 1/3 meters. Now, I could attempt to write this 4 1/3 as 4.3 with the vinculum over it, the line over it. That's what we call that line, to represent that this fraction would keep repeating over and over and over again. And so because this is an irrational fraction or a rational number that would keep repeating, I'm going to leave it as a fraction. And so to multiply fractions or mixed numbers, I'm hoping we remember, kiddos, I can convert this into an improper fraction, multiply, and then simplify. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take my 4 1/3. I'm going to take that 4 1/3, and I'm just going to convert it to an improper fraction by multiplying the denominator times the whole number. So 4 times 3 is 12. And then adding the numerator, which is 13, over the denominator, 13 over 3. I'm then going to take my 3.5, also convert that into an improper fraction. So 3 times 2, which is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. So that's 7 over 2. And I'm going to multiply those two. Numerator times numerator. 13 times 7 is equal to 91. Denominator times denominator. 3 times 2 is equal to 6. And so I get 91 over 6. And now I'm just going to simplify that into a mixed number to find out, hey, what's the area going to be? And that's going to be equal to 15 1/6 meters squared. 6 goes into 91, 6 goes into 91 15 whole times with the remainder 1. So our fraction is going to be, or our mixed number is going to be 15 1/6. So that's going to be the area of the rug, or that's how much space, how many square meters of space the rug will take up on Tariq's floor. And once again, kiddos, we want to remember, hey, our units are meters squared, so we want to make sure that we are not forgetting that that's meters squared. Excellent. So there are a couple things you're going to want to make sure that are in your notebook so that when you have that notebook check, you're going to earn that 100. The first thing is, what's the key point? And the second is either test the conjecture number 1, have that in your notebook, or test the conjecture number 2. Either one of those examples need to be in your notebook. Please make sure you're also writing that this is for Unit 7, Lesson 2, along with the date. Alrighty, let's get on with today's lesson.